expressed in this show belong to the person expressing them. They do not purport to reflect the opinions or views of Rancher or any other entity.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's episode of Coffee and Cloud Native. My name is Adrian Goins, and I am jazzed up to be here with you today. The purpose of this show is to share with you news and interesting content related to Kubernetes and Cloud Native, and to build a community of people who are interested in using technology to live a better life. If you're watching live, consider following or subscribing to the channel. If you're watching in the future, give it a thumbs up so the algorithm thingies share it with other people. Join the free community site and the Discord server. Links to that are in the video description, and then I'll start them scrolling across the bottom of the screen. Now, live chat happens in Discord with a bot that relays between YouTube and Twitch. So come hang out with us either during the show or after. And as you'll see in just a minute, the chat's where the real action happens. Let's just jump over there really quick and say hello to people. Wifebot says the audio is great. That's fantastic. It's kind of funny. I have workers on my roof right now, and they're painting a wall with granite paint where there's the roof and then there's a wall next to it. Actually, I just feel like that. And so all I hear is but I use Crisp. If you don't use Crisp for blocking out non-speech in your audio, check it out. Crisp.ai, Crisp with a K. Amazing. In fact, if you're in a meeting with people who are banging really loudly on their keyboards or eating chips or whatever, you can also block out non-voice audio in your speakers. So you don't have to be like, hey, can you stop eating the chips? Good stuff. So back to the greets. We got Nuno, Ian, good morning. Kent, howdy. Clint, Samuel Dan, nice to see you, Sam. Peter Keach, Wojtek, Cześć, Gerald B, the Crazy Russian, Privyet. Smalls. Now we're getting back to the scrolling part where Old Man with a Hat. Awesome. That's my hands down my favorite handle for anybody in Discord. Old Man with a Hat. OFS. Hello. Nice to see you, OFS. Welcome to the show. Frank. Nice. Frank just leveled up to level 5. Congratulations, Frank. Frank has a dog who looks very much like my dog. And my dog yesterday, my dog likes to eat bees. And we think he had a run-in with a yellow jacket yesterday, and he came in and his lips all swollen. Poor guy. Hey, Duck, good morning. Okay, so let's jump really quick into a little bit of news, and then, and then we'll get started. So first off, voting should work. If you weren't here yesterday, I made a bunch of changes over the holiday weekend to make things better, and of course broke them. So whatever, I think I fixed it. There is a new poll in place for the giveaways for December, for which Udemy course you'd like to win. Now, I'm taking the last 2 weeks of December off, so the show will be stopped. I'll still post content to the community site, so y'all can get your fix of cloud native content, but just links. I'm not going to do a show, and I'll use that time to do some additional updates. So there's only 3 weeks this week. First giveaway is going to be on Friday. Please go vote so I know what we're giving away. And then real quick, before I get into the stuff for today, there was a comment. I have to actually end the show on time today because somebody booked a meeting right at the top of the hour, and it's a little bit important, so I need to be there. I told them I'd still be late. And so that started a conversation in the chat about people booking meetings. And the thing about meetings, if you haven't read the book by 37 Signals called Getting Real, go get it and read it. It's just little short chapters of stuff that is mostly about software development, but it has a section in there on meetings. The chapter is Meetings Are Toxic. When you see a meeting and it's got 27 people on the invite, you are 100% guaranteed that unless it's an all-hands meeting, that meeting will have zero value. So to prevent me having to deal with rejecting meetings from people all the time when I'm like, this doesn't need to be a meeting. People are like, oh, I want to talk about whatever, and then they invite everybody under the sun. Those are really expensive. I take my day and I recognize that I need multiple blocks of time that are 2 hours long for me to actually get into a zone and then start doing something. It takes 20 to 30 minutes for you to get into the zone. And then if you're interrupted, boom, you're done. You're done. So I have these, what I call deep work sessions throughout the day. They're blocked in my calendar. They're for me. Nobody gets to screw with them. And then I have other sessions that I call shallow work. And those are blocked out, but marked in the calendar as free. If somebody wants to book a meeting during those times, I'll usually accept it unless it has 27 people in it. And then I'm like, why do we need to have a meeting? That's the only way I get anything done. In a organization where, especially all of us working remote, where there's stuff, everybody's going to put meetings on your calendar and you will never get your work done. So I strongly recommend block that time out, and you don't have to explain it. They don't have access to what it is. They just see that you're busy and that you're really busy. And you're like, yeah, I'm really busy every week. Totally. Every single day. Like 6 out of the 8 hours of the workday, totally busy. Sorry. Your life will be better. So let's actually get into the real stuff. So first up, we have the A/B test. The collector bots have gathered candidates for the show, and Trufflebot has scored them from 1 to 5 coffees, corresponding to a 75 to 100% probability of being interesting content. He'll post them one at a time to the A/B test channel on Discord, and I'll load them up. Anyone watching live can rate them, and then the final scores are shown when we move to the next item. The total rating for all items shown on the show is used to rate the show itself, and in the future I'll use that to refine the machine learning model. We have some pretty cool stuff today. Make sure I loaded it. Did I load it? I loaded it. Yay! What's first in the list? First in the list is this is funny. So Cyber Monday. Linux Foundation is basically selling everything, but I'm pretty sure that the CKA course used to be $299. So I'm not sure if marking it up to 500 so you can mark it down to 200 is really a 60% savings, but I don't know. Maybe they raised the price recently. I'm pretty sure that they didn't. Regardless, $199 for the Kubernetes Fundamentals course with the CKA exam is a smoking deal. If you already have that, well, there's lots of other stuff. The CKS exam, Cloud Foundry, Essentials of Linux Administration, all of their stuff is 60% off through the rest of the week with the coupon Cyber. I saw a thing on CNN that said that it's official, Black Friday is totally irrelevant because all of us are already shopping online and nobody cared. But hey, it's a good time to spend some stuff. I bought nothing this Black Friday because I'm saving all of my money to move back to the United States. Wow, nobody cared. That's interesting. You all are a tough crowd. Okay, so next up, caring slightly more, hopefully, maybe. We've had Talos on the show before. This is actually not anything about them, but they made what's actually a pretty funny video about Talos. That people are scared of big words like Kubernetes and immutable. It's pretty funny. I'll have a link for it later. I just wanted to throw it on the show because nobody subscribes to their channel. You should just subscribe to their channel. They make a really cool solution, and give their video a thumbs up. And it's just funny. Cruising through the content. Hey. Woohoo. Challenge number 2 of Seasons of Serverless came out yesterday. Seasons of Serverless, Microsoft's annual series of challenges to help you learn everything about serverless and, of course, learn a little bit about Azure in the process. This week, you have to create a machine learning model that can analyze images of food and determine what is a laddu for Diwali. Diwali is an Indian festival that celebrates the victory of light over darkness, and laddus are balls of flour dipped in sugar syrup. One of the things I'm really looking forward to upon returning to the United States is being able to eat food from other cultures. Mexican food, sushi that doesn't have cream cheese in it, Indian food, Middle Eastern food, all super stoked. So laddus, delicious. Looking forward to it. Somebody just shout me out about something? Okay, whatever. I thought I heard somebody give me a mention. I guess not. So the next challenge is out. Machine learning, and Azure actually has a service that you can use for doing image classification. So check that out. Next up. Okay. These guys. I really like Teleport by Gravitational. But With the release of Teleport version 5, they changed their name from Gravitational to Teleport. Because every time they went anywhere, people were like, oh, Gravitational, you're the people that make Teleport. So they were like, well, let's just be Teleport. I 100% support that decision. Their other stuff I've said on the show before, I don't really think that they're like packaging up Kubernetes applications to compete with Helm. I don't think that's super relevant, but their Teleport product is. And they just released Teleport version 5. So this is like a 50-minute long video that talks about it. But if you look at they have this thing now where they're calling it the Unified Access Plane, which gives you, well, it's a suite of products. You don't actually buy the whole thing. So server access, Kubernetes access, or application access. And each of these things provides a different service. So server access, this is what I know, where you've got single sign-on, RBAC, access workflows. And the thing that I like most about their solutions is the full session recording. So you can use this for like collaborative stuff where you could be training somebody. You can use it for auditing. You can see what people are doing and who did and what and everything, and literally go back and play their entire session. It's amazing, and it's always been amazing. But in addition to server access, they provide a kubectl proxy that does the same thing. So the same functionality, but instead of SSH, it's a wrapper for Kubernetes API access. Genius. And then application access, where you can take any internal application and wrap it the same way, where it'll proxy everything after a sign-on. Their sign-on functionality is in their free plans. So everything has a free plan. So in their free plan, self-hosted, etc., you get SSO through GitHub. But in their paid plans, which range from $20 per app to $5 per node to, I forget what the other one is, you get access to other stuff. So kudos to Gravitational for changing their name, and I still think that their suite of products here are absolutely amazing. Next. When I was a young pup and we were learning how to do stuff with the internet, I always told people that the best, I don't think it applies anymore, but back in the day, I thought the best way to learn how to do stuff on the internet was to build a DNS server and build a web server. It was before the cloud. NTP, though, I put right up there with DNS as one of those things that's really simple and really important. I did not realize until I saw this article yesterday that, I mean, it totally makes sense. So much depends on NTP that it's a perfect target for man-in-the-middle attacks, or for screwing around with stuff to, hide what you're doing, or change how something operates, or change a one-time password to use something from before. And NTP had zero functional permission system security. So there's now the NTS, which is, I don't know what it stands for. Network Time Security Standard, which wraps NTP in authentication. And this is a whole white paper about it. What I have on the screen here is actually just like a little intro to the white paper, but you can download the white paper down at the bottom. And it's pretty amazing. It talks a little bit about how they've wrapped NTP in an encryption protocol and how it's so simple that you can actually embed it in hardware now, which is important because lots of IoT devices and embedded devices are going to need NTP to function correctly. So if you're a nerd like me and you understand even what NTP is, and you've ever built an NTP server and run it internally, you might find this interesting. So to read the full white paper, I don't even know if it's free. Hey, it's a PDF. It's free. There you go. Some light reading for lunch. Next up, for all of you Raspberry Pi folks. If you have a Raspberry Pi 4, you've probably, let me get this meeting notification off my screen there. You've probably noticed that the Pi 4 runs really hot, particularly if you're using their case, which doesn't have a lot of airflow. There have been some hacky solutions. They changed some firmware, whatever stuff to make it do things differently. But the problem is basically if you have the Pi 4 in a case, it gets hot enough that it starts throttling the CPU. And that sucks. Well, they've released a fan now that works with their case, and they've got some benchmarking stuff here that shows that with an open case, it gets up to 70 degrees. put it in a case, it gets up to above 80 and starts throttling, so that their sample takes a little bit longer. You can't see my mouse. Whatever. Their sample takes a little longer. And then they put the fan on in the case, and you see that it actually never gets above 67 degrees, and it takes the same amount of time. It's $5. You can control it with a GPIO port, so you can actually turn it on and off if you want. There you go. And they recognize that, whoops, our bad. And for the Pi 5 or the Pi 4C or whatever comes out next, they're going to prioritize cooling because, holy cow, it's important. Next up, we have envZero. envZero is really hard to say because the V sounds like an F and you can't hear it at all. So it sounds like I'm like, I don't know, making a weird noise. envZero does really cool stuff with Terraform, where you can create policies and assign RBAC and give Terraform plans, make it a self-service option for people inside your organization to do things with Terraform, but to actually maintain control over the plans themselves. They're a new company, but they've been heavily developing their product. And in fact, Tim Davis is in our community. Hi, Tim. They released a new update for pull request plans. This is really cool. It's Terraform. So if somebody submits a PR within envZero, it will actually generate a modified Terraform plan and show you what it would change. And it posts this actually as a comment back within the pull request itself. And as updates are made, changes or whatever to the commits that affect the pull request, it just continues to update that same comment. So within that comment, this is what's going to change in your Terraform plan. This is the only thing I've seen that does a really good job of predicting infrastructure changes for Terraform. And envZero has a nice free getting started plan. We learned about them from Jerome Pizzazzoni. Yeah, so cool stuff. Check them out if you're doing anything with Terraform, particularly if you want to make Terraform available to people within your organization. Last week, oh, good Lord. Last week, Amazon pooped itself, basically, for lack of a better word. And this showed up on Twitter and across the interwebs because people's Roombas stopped working. And they were like, oh my God, my smart devices are not working. And everybody was like, really? Your vacuum needs to connect to the cloud? Yeah, so that's one whole argument about the garbage going on with IoT. And it wasn't actually that the Roomba needed to. It was probably something related to Cognito or permissions or something. But at the end of the day, stuff just didn't work. I remember the early days of Amazon failures that knocked out entire availability zones forever. So seeing something like this and seeing their response to it, this is their post-mortem, they've come a long way. But there's a lot to learn here about cascading failures and how anybody who's ever been through a major failure understands that it's almost like the perfect storm of little things that together just unite to make this god-awful monstrosity that you're going to have to beat down piece by piece. Ultimately, the problem started at 5:15 a.m. Pacific time and was not resolved until 10 p.m. Pacific time. They got the resolution in at around 10 a.m., but because of the amount of stuff in the backlog and the problem of if there was too much, it would break something else, they could only open the floodgates a little bit at a time and let those errors clear. It was a major outage that not only affected Amazon services, it affected Amazon's status dashboard. So people were saying, this is clearly down, but the dashboard says it's up. Well, because Kinesis affected Cognito, and Cognito is part of the dashboard, so the dashboard didn't work. They had a backup tool that people weren't trained on. If you're an SRE, if you do anything in systems administration, if you maintain systems, if you're in support, read this and take the lessons from here and apply them to your environment. It will save you massive headache in the future. And if you are somebody who develops IoT stuff, for the love of Johnny Five, please don't make my vacuum depend on the cloud. Please. Oh my gosh, no, this is not supposed to be up there yet. This is the tool of the day. Okay, well, I'll have to fix that logic. Okay, so, well, since it's there, we have to vote on it. So we're gonna do tool of the day, and then we'll come back to other stuff. Tool of the day is now embedded in the output from the bot, and he doesn't know that he's supposed to save that. Yay, live debugging with Adrian. At least voting works. Today's tool of the day is Portieres from IBM. This is a Kubernetes Admission Controller for the enforcement of image security policies. Who remembers what the theme of the month is? Policy. This is a mutating admission webhook that can enforce signed images, either signed by a Notary server or a content trust, same thing, or by something called Red Hat's simple signatures. I don't know what that is, but it sounds cool. So basically, you run this, and when you create or edit a workload, the API sends a request to Portieres. Portieres does what it does and analyzes things and says yes or no. Yes being this is signed. I think you can even break it down into... So there's... If you're going to use Notary and simple signing, they have to actually be in agreement. If they're not in agreement, then stuff doesn't work. So you can not only say that it has to be signed, but you can create policies that say that it has to be signed by a specific role or by a specific key. So you're not just, running random hackers signed image. You can also disable it by namespace. If you have like a dev namespace where you don't care or where you're pulling content that's not signed yet. This is 0.9.2, so this is not new, but they just released an update to it yesterday. So today's tool of the day, which today we get to vote on, hooray, that was a happy accident, is Portieres. And now we go back to the A/B test. Thundar the Barbarian is back. It's actually Thundra. But I like saying Thundar because, come on, Thundra the Cloud Librarian. No. This is an article about managing Lambdas across regions and accounts, and the challenges that you will encounter in doing so, in trying to either manage it yourself, in trying to keep your costs low, in auditing, in logging, in figuring out what broke, and what you could possibly do about it. They start out with an explanation of things and how you might do this yourself. So, AWS CLI, CloudFormation, or AWS SAM, which I hadn't even heard of, which is the serverless application model. Cool. So that's an option. And then the problems you might encounter with that, and then what third-party tools exist to help you solve that. They do something that I like. They actually start out talking about somebody else's third-party tool, Stackery. And they say, yeah, you could use Stackery, and it'll probably be okay. But here's where Stackery falls short. Or you could use our tool, Thundra. And here's why Thundra is better than all of these other solutions. Great blog article. Just great for... I like when people promote their stuff without being like, we're the only solution out there. Help people solve the problem in the domain in which you are an expert, and give them choices and empower them with information that allows them to choose if you are the best solution. And some will. Thundra, as I've said before, they have a free plan to get started, and beyond that, it costs money. But if you are, if you want to take it for a test drive, there you go. Next up, we have Starboard from Aqua. We've had Starboard on here before, and Liz Rice was talking about Starboard at Starboard, not Starboard, Starboard. It's one of those nautical terms that's just pronounced differently, like bosun and forecastle. That was the other one we had on the show before. Starboard. Okay, yeah, so it uses Trivy, and, there's other things that use Trivy, but this article is about what makes Starboard different from other vulnerability scanning tools that you might work with. I was not aware that other tools while they tend to output whatever is convenient for them, there's different formats for each tool. So if you're using multiple tools because there's not a good overlap in all of the functionality that you need, you have to pick apart their different report styles. Starboard, when it's run in operator mode, which means it runs inside of the Kubernetes cluster and can be triggered based on things. So a new deployment launches, it can automatically do a scan of that and then send the output back. But it creates its output as a CRD. So it's Kubernetes native objects, and you can then query them because they follow a specific format. What Aqua would like to see is that other security tools pick up this style so that we can have a consolidation of report output that benefits everybody. Smart. So they're just leading the way by being like, yeah, hey, look at this over here. Yeah, CRD. Awesome. Enjoy. Starboard's free. Starboard is powerful and great, and yeah, there you go. I love seeing how you guys vote for stuff. It's great. This is neat. Keeping an eye on the clock. This is probably going to be the last one we got for today. Something that I changed last night is, and I don't know why I wasn't doing this before, but in the community site now, there are 15 items that are eligible for the show, and then we get through like 8 or 10 of them. And the rest of them go out as CNCN espresso shots in the tweets when the show tweets go out the following day. I wasn't posting them in the links on the community site, so that was lame. Anyway, those will now be posted in the links. So whatever doesn't make it on the show, you'll get still as a link, and you can go check it out. When I was giving my last Intro to Kubernetes and Rancher course, or maybe not the last one, but the one before, I started using Kubernetes 1.19, but my ingress manifest was from something older and had the wrong API version, and I was not prepared for that. So I was like, oh yeah, here's how you deploy an ingress, and it failed. And I had to do some live debugging in the show to figure out like, oh, why is this and what's different? And one of the things was API version. You're going to run into this. So all you need to remember are a couple of really easy commands. kubectl API resources will tell you, it'll give you a lot more output than this, but it will tell you the API group. And then you can run kubectl API versions to grep for that group, and it will tell you what the thing is. So if you were going to run this, it would look like, so let's say that we're in this same situation where I'm like, oh my gosh, my ingress, I don't remember what it's supposed to be. Well, it shows me ingresses is networking.k8s.io. And so now I can just run kubectl API versions, grepping for a line that starts with networking.k8s.io, and I see that it's also v1. Done. No live debugging or hacking around and stuff. Stick that in your toolbox. Easy stuff. Today's show had an average of 4 coffees. That's a good show. Oops. And yay, now I have locked in episode 81. So what does that mean? What does that mean? It means that's all for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Links to everything I talk about on the show go up on the free community site at community.cncn.io after the show ends. Come join us. Community members get early access to the links, the video replay, and other exclusive content. It's free, and it's growing every day. If you have something you'd like me to consider for the show, post it in the community site, mention me in the post, or ping me on Discord or Twitter. One of the things that I added to the show logic backend was the ability to just quickly add a URL. And I plan to probably, when I take 2 weeks off at the end of December, to expose that as a web page so that you guys can actually just submit stuff there. But we're not there yet. For now, let me know. I'll add it to the backlog. Have a great day, everyone. Keep learning, and I will see you in the next show. Stay caffeinated. Have a great day.